Hi everybody, my name is Lapiercom. I'm from South Sudan and I've been in the United States for approximately 10 years. I'm going to talk about my experience with the war in my country and how my life come to be today. When I was a child, I don't know what happened, but I know my family had to move from city to city, from city to city, until I become to realize there's something seriously awful is going on. At first, when I start to recall the war and realize that I'm not safe and my family is not safe, I think I was around 8 years old. My mother sent me to go to my uncle's house to get some stuff. And the house is not really far. You could see through it. And I was supposed to come home before it's 4 o'clock. So being a child, liking to play with other children, I went to my uncle's house. I delivered the message and I kept playing with my cousin. 4 o'clock came. My aunt reminded me to go home. We went somewhere else in the house and hiked and kept playing because I didn't want to leave. It went to be around 5 o'clock when I realized I really have to go. And this is where my acknowledgement of what is war is started. I find myself in the middle of road. In South Sudan at the time there was a lot of wood, so I could see from my right hand there was a lot of woods, and then on my left hand there's grass and then woods, and I could see my house and my uncle's house is behind me. I was going home, and then out of nowhere it started to rain fire. There was gun, loud noise. I think that was bombs. I then start running because some of them literally fall around me, and I begin running and crying. And at some point, I fell down, and I could hear my mother from far away screaming from the window of my house that I need to run. And I see my father holding her back. My mother being a grown person, I figured out my father figured if she ran out to get me, she's definitely going to get shot. Me being a little girl, I think I was a little bit, because usually when they start shooting, they advise people to lay down. I couldn't lay down. I have to keep running. I can hear my mother screaming for me. My foot gave up on me. I fell a couple of times. I couldn't get up, but the voice of my mother kept me to run. A few days from there, I just suddenly become very quiet, very unusual for me. My mother noticed that. My eyes become very white, my hands. Then to find out that I developed a bleeding disorder. That I needed a lot of treatment. The doctor who treated me was from northern part of Sudan, and he was living in the south. So when the government of Khartoum attacked Rumbek, where we were living at the time, they advised everybody to leave. Later on, I learned that he was killed, him and his wife. We couldn't attend school the few years that we went to northern Sudan, to find out that the reason we couldn't attend school because we were from the south and we were black, and the school system didn't want to accept us. My mother tried a couple of times, and they have many reasons. The classes are full, you came late. Then there are some non-profit organizations that are opening a school for they call us refugee in our own country. The Khartoum is the capital, and it's all Sudan, but they call us refugee. they opened a school for refugee. And that's where my mother put us. We had to dress like Muslim in the school. I had to cover my hair. I didn't believe in it. We couldn't wear pants. We couldn't. We have to wear dresses. I remember my mother went to an office, a public office, for some information. In Sudan, to do one thing, it takes forever. If you go to the city, you have to wait for bus. The buses take forever, so half of your day traveling to go do what you needed to do. So my mother go to the office, and she couldn't go in because she forgot to carry the scarf to cover her hair. So they wouldn't allow her in. She ended up coming home, and when I asked her if she achieved her mission, she said no, because she didn't cover her hair. We were Christian. We were not Muslim, but we have to obey into Islamic law. We had to keep some peace, to keep ourselves from being harassed on the street by the police. Women were jailed. Women were beaten up. On international TV in Sudan, on the local TV, they talk very negatively about Christianity. They refer to us as non-believer. And this created a lot of tension between Muslim and Christian. Churches were being burned down. I recall the time that we wanted to do, my friend was in a university, and they wanted to do a workshop, Christian workshop in university. The university agreed to allow it, but a few students would not. So on the day that the event have to take place, they burned down Bibles. People been beating up. Among them was me, and we had to run. And I found myself for the first time in my life standing in the middle of a cemetery. Later on, my father joined us to Khartoum. My father always stood, and that was one of the hardest things when you stand against the government and try to help your own people based on the law that exists in that country. In Khartoum, even though we were children, we know that our life was in danger. We know our parents' life were in danger. When your father leaves home and he doesn't come back by 2 or 5 or nobody would know, this used to cause a lot of worries. I always walked with my mother. When she had to leave home, I insist on going with her because we don't know if any of us is going to come back. We really didn't know. My father did some work, and supposedly this work supposed to be very secret because it would jeopardize his safety and our own safety. In Khartoum, he went to the northern part in rural areas looking for children who were abducted and taken as a slave and being forced to work in the home of the northern without any pay, being beaten and basically treated like animal. My father also went and looked for the children, and this is jeopardized his safety. Among the people that really haunted me, it was our neighbor. They were good people. I mean, the way they treated us, they were good people until we start to learn the other side. When our landlord moved in and we shared the house, and later on, they have a little girl from South Sudan. And they said that the girl was badly treated. She had to sleep in the cage with chicken, where they put their own chicken. I believe at the time maybe she was around 9 or 10 years old. The landlord had his own daughter, was almost around the same age, but the little girl had to take order from the other little girl. She had to wake up early in the morning and do all the cleanings. And she came a few times to my mother crying, and a lot of times she would be beating up, and we heard that. Our hands was very My mom felt that her hand was tight. This is our landlord. When my parents asked them about the girl, they said that her family gave her out to them. Her family in the South Sudan gave her out to them. We didn't believe that because as a Dinka, a tribe in South Sudan, we don't give our own away. It's just not in our culture because we take care of each other. For example, if your brother die, it's automatically your responsibility to take care of your brother family. And if you don't have a brother, your uncle or your aunt's son would take care of you. So we automatically know we always count on each other. That's just the tie in the culture. So in Dinka, there's no adoption. Later on, because of the suspicious of my father's activities, he was arrested. When he went and visited his friend, on his way back home, two cars pulled over and they asked him to get in the car and they escorted him to the car. My father didn't come home until midnight, close to the morning. And luckily he wasn't beaten up, but he was questioned, verbally assaulted. Things escalated. 1990, my father received a letter and they told him that he needed to go to South Sudan, to a city called Juba, which is the capital of South Sudan right now, to handle a case. So he was given a letter, a yellow letter, sealed with candle seal, and he's supposed to deliver that letter. And so my father went to the airport repeatedly, and no plane came to pick him up because they were making a special plane for him. Finally, luckily for him, he received a letter from the British consular. He had applied before for a scholarship, the Chevron scholarship, to go to England and study. It's a coincidence because it came at the time that he was supposed to go to the South. So he talked to his friend, and his friend advised him that, well, since you went to the airport more than 3 times or 4 times and they didn't show up to take you there, maybe you shouldn't go anymore. Take your chances and go to England. So my father resigned. He left within a few days, he left to England. Later on, being curious and noisy, I was cleaning up, I found the letter. So, well, I figured out my father didn't go to Juba, so maybe we should know what in the letter. I opened the letter, and my father was being exiled to Juba. And the letter said that he not to come back to Khartoum and that his family would go to Juba. At the time, Juba was under control of the government of Khartoum. And at the time, the government of Khartoum was targeting leaders of the South, or people who are considered highly educated or who stand out to be leaders of the community. Among them, like my father, they were being targeted. In Juba, they have what's so-called White House. White House is where they punish people, they beat up people, people dies. Among them was one of my uncle. And we believe my father was being sent there to be tortured. Women suffer a lot because their men couldn't find jobs. So women turn into making a homemade alcohol. Homemade alcohol, the Islamic government of Sudan doesn't allow alcohol. A lot of women were put A lot of women were arrested, put in jail. Some of them even give birth in jail. And I have some of my friend, her name in Arabic, her name in English, her name will mean jail because she was given birth to in jail. Women were beaten up. Some girls start working as a housemaid in the northern house in Khartoum. Some were those who've been raped by the people they work to never get any justice. In fact, they'll be beaten up by those people and being kicked away. When things got to extent that the government of Khartoum start arresting people, including young girls from the south, my father felt that our life was in danger. And because a lot of time when you get arrested and you're a young girl from the south, you're most likely to get raped in jail by the policemen, which are the northern. So my father decided that we're gonna leave the country and go to Egypt. So life in Egypt wasn't easy. Again, the name calling because I was black. Egyptian didn't understand why we so black. They call us chocolate. However, there was some kind of religion freedom in Egypt. Egyptian people have great sense of humor. And then in Egypt, while I was in Egypt, I lost my mother. I got the news that my mother passed away. Life in the United States wasn't like what I thought. It's not easy in America. When I first came, I didn't know a lot of people. I wanted to go to school, end up in a limbo, go to ESL classes forever. And finally, I met a few good people, and they helped me, directed me to the right path, and I ended up going to UMass Boston.